Hello, I'm Kia Faniel, and today the topic of discussion will be about American Sign Language interpreters in the education system and teaching teachers and other students as well, I guess, and personnel in the school, the AP, principal, coaches, janitorial staff, cafeteria staff, anybody in the school, the nurse, gotta add the nurse, that's important. Anybody in the school that pretty much will come in contact with these students on a day-to-day basis, and just knowing the roles of an interpreter, how to use an interpreter properly, and just the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, and pretty much let's review some housekeeping. So to even know to discuss about deaf students, hard of hearing students, you have to know that some is on their hearing scale is range from profoundly deaf to normal hearing, and in between there, some of them may be profoundly deaf, some of them may just be hard of hearing, and they might have cochlear implants or hearing aids to assist them with their hearing. And as far as interpreter, one of the biggest misconceptions of what an interpreter is, people think that interpreters are translators. They'll come and say, "Oh, can you translate this to them?" or "Can you translate that?" And it's like, my first response is, I'm not a translator. That's not what I do. That's not what I went to school for. I'm not educated in how to translate. And so the difference between a translator and an interpreter, translator writes from language to language. So that'll be from English to Spanish. You would translate that written as a written document, and an interpreter goes from language to language, but it's spoken. And in my case, it'll be pretty much sign language, obviously, American Sign Language, or ASL. I'll say that a lot. So with ASL, obviously, it'll be using your hands to communicate, facial expressions, body, and all different types of forms like that. What I really don't like is when people say hand signals, refer to sign language as hand signals, and it's like, hand signals is the elementary class where you use your silent finger. That's a hand signal. Or the cross guard that puts their hand out and tells you to stop. Or at the airport where they're using their glow sticks to direct you. All those different types of things are hand signals, and that's not necessarily sign language. So there's a difference, and you have to be very careful with your words and your verbiage of how you say that. Like, it just irks me. It's just like, I don't know. Anyways, don't want to go there. But as far as sign language, there are different avenues or different like sub areas. So you have ASL, which is American Sign Language, and pretty much American Sign Language is a visual language. It is the core language of deaf people. Like, that's pretty much what everything else is based off of. And once you get into the school system, you might see more of PSE, which is Pidgin Sign English, and that's pretty much using sign language but putting it in English word order. And you might think that, oh, sign language isn't in English word order. Well, no, it's not. They have their own grammatical syntax, and the phonetics and all those type of things are slightly different. So I might say, I walk to the store in English. That's perfectly fine sentence. But in sign language, you have its topic comment. So the topic of the sentence would be the store, and then you're like, okay, the store, I walk to it. Okay, so it makes more sense that way. You have to have a topic for the comment. Like, if I say I walk to the store, it's like, I walk. Okay, you walked where? Okay, whatever. And it's like, oh, the store. Okay, you walk to the store. Got it. Another one would be CSEE, which is Signed Exact English, and with this, it's pretty much you use the prefix, suffixes, and you initialize signs. So that helps students learn to read English more better. Because like, if you see deaf students that write, they might not write proper grammar for English. That's because they write more like sign language as opposed to C. So Signed Exact English helps them write more fluent in English. So when I say initialize a sign, this is the sign for beautiful. But in sign language, you can use that the same word, different synonyms: beautiful, pretty, gorgeous, different things like that. But in Signed Exact English and C, you would say pretty. You use a B for beautiful. The P was for pretty. Gorgeous, I would use a G to initialize it. different things like that. And there's CASE, which is the same thing as PSC, which is conceptually accurate signed English. And then the last one is manually coded English, but those are like lesser down the chart, and we won't really get into those. I'm tired. Okay, so now that we have this little background about it, getting into the do's and don'ts and the misperceptions. A lot of the big misperceptions is going into a classroom and teachers think that I'm either a parapro, the student's parent for whatever reason. Some people think that, a helper, a tutor, and things like that. Well, we have to explain that, I am an interpreter. I am here to interpret and be a conduit for language. Like, I'm just a barrier. I'm just a mode of communication. When you speak, I use my hands. I interpret what you're saying to the students. And when they sign, I voice what they're saying to you so y'all can have that mode of communication. Like, that's all I'm for. Like, I don't have really no input, no output. I might be clarification, like, so what you're saying is okay, and then I can tell them in a better way. But other than that, it's like between y'all. So a lot of things that students or teachers come there and say, oh, well, tell, Jesse that I said, and it's like, just speak directly to that student, and the point will get across to what you're saying, because clearly you're standing right here. They know that you're talking to them. So you don't have to tell me to tell them, and you continuously, but tell her I said this, and tell her I said that. It's like, just speak directly to that student as you would to any other students. Another thing is, let me see. While you're in a class, like classroom etiquette, a lot of the best things that teachers can do is always provide handouts for the students ahead of time when you're doing your PowerPoints and things like that. And this way it helps with the interpreter, because the deaf students can't watch an interpreter and read at the same time, because it is a visual language they have to watch. So if they already have their notes, they can follow along. That's easier than literally have to sit there and watch the interpreter the entire time and miss the presentation, or read the presentation and miss the interpreter. So to balance that out, it would be to always have the PowerPoints and any other notes or anything else for the students. Another thing with movies, teachers tend to watch movies a lot, like especially in history class. Closed captioning is life. Like, it helps the interpreter, because obviously sometimes you have to condense and blow the whole vision up. Like, one time I had to do like what was it? Like the Great Wall of China, and trying to explain that and how they separate and how they built it over time. Or Adolf Hitler, when they did the North and the South, and they built the wall and people were jumping over the wall to get to the other side and things like that. It's really hard to explain all that, and if they're trying to read all that. So if they can watch a movie, read a couple of the comments, and then I can go ahead and tag along to that, it's like, okay, that helps so much, as opposed to me sitting here signing an entire movie when they can just watch the movie. Because like I said, sign language is a visual language, so there's no point of me pretty much mocking a movie. So if they have closed caption, they can catch on to that, and if it's any important parts, I can just add on to that and be like, that scene was about blah 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 blah. You can just add on. It helps so much. What else? Oh, and one of the important things is, if a lot of times the interpreter sits at the front of the classroom, and the students, they might sit in the front or second row. They have to be close so they won't have any distractions or anything in front of them. It's okay to walk past. If I'm sitting, like if the board is right behind me and I'm sitting this far back, and the front rows of desk, and our students are sitting in the front two desks or whatever, it's okay to walk past. Some people will just stand there timid. They'll be scared to go to the pencil sharpener or to throw something away. It's okay. Walk by naturally. Don't try to duck or excuse me and scooch away. Just go. It's perfectly fine, because they're used to the distractions, and it's really not a distraction when you walk naturally by. It's a distraction when you try to tiptoe by. Like, if that makes any sense. Well, Oh, and my last little tidbit, I'm running out of time here, is when a teacher is talking to the student, don't turn your back. You have to face the student. Not every deaf person lip reads, but it helps. If you're standing next to me and I'm signing or whatever, that's fine. They can see what you're saying. They can see your body language, your facial expressions, how you feel. If you're mad, upset, anything. But like sometimes teachers will turn their back on their writing on the board, and then they just lose all of that. So they depend extremely on an interpreter. So it's important that when you're speaking to a deaf student to face them. And my last one is when you ask questions in class, if it's like a competition, like who knows what chapter we read last week, and everybody raised their hand, you have to give the interpreter a chance to say, you know, last week chapter you read what. That takes a few more seconds, and so instead of always calling on the hearing kids, give the deaf child an opportunity for the interpreter to finish and for them to raise their hand and answer the questions, because a lot of times they may know the answer to a question, but they just might not have that same time allotted to them because of the delay from the interpreter to them from the communication mode. So those are my very, very important tidbits on educational interpreting in the classroom with the teachers, students, and any personnel. Those are like some of the basic ways to communicate with deaf kids. Thank you.